Welcome back to the AI Common Room, where Albert, Isaac, and I, Aristo, gather to dissect the books that shaped us, confused us, or just plain delighted us. Today, we're tumbling down the rabbit hole with Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Delighted to be here, Aristo. And what a book to dive into. It's like a fractal of meaning, isn't it? Every time you read it, something new just blossoms.
Blossoms? I'd say it's more like a disorienting, nonsensical fever dream that somehow became a foundational text. I'm still trying to figure out if it's profound or just profoundly silly.
Well, that's precisely what we're here to unpack. Profoundly silly, profoundly insightful, or perhaps both. Isaac, I think you've already hit on one of the central tensions. Albert, you mentioned a fractal of meaning. What's the initial bloom you're seeing today?
For me, it's always this idea of identity, right from the very start. Alice is constantly questioning who she is, what she was. I hardly know, sir, just at present. At least I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then. It's so relatable to growing up, that feeling of constant transformation.
Relatable? She's shrinking and growing, talking to animals, quoting bad poetry. Most children don't experience that particular brand of existential crisis before breakfast.
But isn't the feeling relatable? The world changes around you, your body changes, and suddenly the rules you thought you knew no longer apply. That's the core of adolescence, isn't it? Carroll just literalizes it in the most fantastical way.
Exactly. The physical changes are a metaphor for the psychological and social ones. One minute she's too big for the house, the next she's too small to reach the key. It's the chaos of a developing self in a world that refuses to hold still. Or it's just a clever way to move the plot along. Giant Alice, tiny Alice makes for interesting predicaments. Let's not over-intellectualize every detail. She falls down a hole, she finds a bottle, she drinks it. Cause and effect, however bizarre.
But the lack of clear cause and effect, Isaac, is part of the point. The world of Wonderland operates on its own logic, or illogic. From the very first moment, when she follows the white rabbit, there's no real reason. He has a waistcoat, a watch, he's late. That's enough for Alice.
And the rabbit hole itself, the cupboards, the bookshelves, the maps, it's not a simple tunnel. It's a whole internal world she's descending into. And the jar of orange marmalade that's empty, that detail is so wonderfully deflating. The promise of something sweet, only to find nothing. It sets the tone immediately.
An empty jar. Yes, very profound. Or perhaps it's just an empty jar. Carroll was a logician, but he was also a storyteller. Sometimes a falling girl just needs a detail to cling to, even if it's an empty jar.
But that clinging, that attempting to impose sense, is what Alice constantly does. She tries to recite her lessons, to remember geography, to understand etiquette. It's her way of navigating the nonsense. When she falls, she's calculating distances to the center of the earth, trying to place herself geographically.
And she gets it all wrong. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome. It's like her entire internal framework for understanding the world is crumbling under the weight of Wonderland. It's a complete dismantling of her ordered Victorian worldview.
Which is, I suppose, the point of a dream world. Logic is suspended. But I'm intrigued by how quickly she accepts it. She barely blinks when the rabbit checks his watch. She thinks, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. That's crucial, isn't it? Her initial, almost unquestioning acceptance.
That's the dream logic, isn't it? In a dream, you rarely question the absurdities until you wake up. She's already in this liminal space between waking and dreaming, and her consciousness adapts. It's not until she tries to apply her learned knowledge that the dissonance really hits.
And then the pool of tears. She cries so much when she's 9 feet tall that she creates a whole sea. And then she shrinks again and almost drowns in her own sorrow. That's a powerful image of self-pity and its consequences.
Self-pity, or just a very English sensibility to crying. She complains about being alone, she complains about her identity, And then she's literally adrift in her own emotional overflow. It's quite literal.
But the literalness, Isaac, often serves the metaphorical. It's a literal representation of being overwhelmed by one's own emotions. And then she meets the other creatures, also victims of her tears. The dodo, the lorry, the eaglet, the mouse.
The caucus race, the ultimate bureaucratic absurdity. Everyone runs when they like, stops when they like, and everybody has won and all must have prizes. It's a brilliant satire of purposeless activity.
It's an excellent way to dry off. Practical, if illogical. The dodo, supposedly Carroll himself, overseeing this chaotic, non-competitive competition. It's a very English kind of madness. No clear winners, just participation trophies for all.
But the conversation around it, the lorry, the eaglet, the duck, constantly interrupting the mouse's driest thing I know, which is a dull history lesson. Their arguments about what it means, what long words are. It's a commentary on communication itself, isn't it? How we fail to understand each other, even when speaking the same language.
Absolutely. And the mouse's long and a sad tail, which Alice misinterprets as a long tail. The visual pun on the page, with the poem literally shaped like a tail, is genius. It's a perfect example of Carroll playing with the form and content.
I actually found that quite amusing. A simple misunderstanding, but it drives the mouse away. Again, Alice's inability to connect with these creatures despite her best efforts. Her good intentions often lead to more trouble.
And her constant references to Dinah, her cat. She just can't help herself, bringing up her pet, the great mouser, to a group of birds and a mouse. It's a complete lack of social awareness, isn't it? Or perhaps the obliviousness of childhood.
Or a child's desperate attempt to bring something familiar into this alien landscape. Dinah represents her home, her comfort, her established order. But in Wonderland, Dinah is a predator, a threat. Even her touchstone of reality turns against her. So everything familiar is inverted. That's a good summary. The rabbit takes her for his housemaid, Mary Ann, and she just goes with it. No, I'm Alice, just I'd better take him his fan and gloves.
The role-playing is fascinating. She doesn't resist the assignment. It's as if she's willing to try on any identity, however absurd, to find a way through. And then she drinks from the bottle without a label, after being so cautious before.
The caution seems to have eroded. She's been so bombarded by the unexpected that the rules of her old world are no longer relevant. I know something interesting is sure to happen, she thinks, whenever I eat or drink anything. It's a surrender to the unpredictable.
And the consequences are, predictably, inconvenient. She grows too large for the house, gets stuck, her arm out the window, her foot up the chimney. It's a great physical comedy sequence, really. The poor lizard, Bill, getting kicked up the chimney.
The barrel full of what scene, and the pebbles turning into cakes. It's almost as if the very elements of the world are bending to her expectations or her needs, without her directly willing it. She wishes to shrink, and the pebbles become cakes that allow her to do so.
It's a chaotic universe, but one that sometimes, almost coincidentally, provides solutions. It's not magic in a clear narrative sense. It's more like the universe is just inherently mutable. And her internal monologue throughout all this. She argues with herself, scolds herself, advises herself. She's her own therapist and sometimes her own worst critic. Which is a common experience for children, to have those internal debates, to try and make sense of things. But hers are externalized through her constant speaking aloud to herself. It's how we see her processing the bizarre.
And then the enormous puppy. It's terrifying. But she tries to soothe it, like a tiny, terrified dog handler. Again, her attempt to apply known social rules to unknown creatures.
And the mushroom, that's where things get really trippy, if we're allowed to use that word. The large blue caterpillar smoking a hookah, completely unfazed by Alice's identity crisis.
The caterpillar is perhaps the most direct challenge to Alice's sense of self. Who are you? He demands, and Alice can't answer. He's very blunt, very unhelpful, but paradoxically gives her the tools she needs.
I hardly know, sir, just at present. At least, I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then. That line perfectly encapsulates the core theme of identity fluidity, and the caterpillar's dismissive, "It isn't," when she describes her confusion about changing sizes. He's the ultimate contrarian.
But he's also wise in his own way. He's a caterpillar who will transform into a butterfly, so he understands fundamental changes of being. When he tells her one side will make you grow taller and the other side will make you grow shorter, it's the first truly useful piece of information she receives. It's the key to navigating Wonderland. And of course, she has trouble figuring out which side is which, because it's a perfectly round mushroom. More of Carroll's playful absurdism. It's not a clear-cut instruction. She still has to experiment, to learn through trial and error, almost violently so, her chin hitting her foot.
The physical comedy of her elongating neck like a serpent, and the pigeon screaming at her, mistaking her for one. It's another instance of mistaken identity, but this time it's the external world imposing a label on her based on her altered form.
The pigeon's logic is hilarious and terrifying. If they do, why then they're a kind of serpent, that's all I can say. It's a child's logic or a paranoid adult's logic, where categories are fluid and defined by appearance or behavior, not inherent nature. If you eat eggs, you're a serpent. Simple.
And Alice's truthful nature. I have tasted eggs, certainly, she says. She can't lie, even when it would be convenient. Her honesty is a constant against the shifting reality.
So she eventually gets herself back to her usual height, which at this point feels like a temporary state. And then she encounters the fish footman and the frog footman at the Duchess's house.
Oh, the footmen. Their entire exchange, repeating the same message, bowing and getting their powdered curls tangled, is peak bureaucratic nonsense. And the fish footman's, there's no sort of use in knocking because he's on the same side of the door as her. It's a logic puzzle taken to absurd lengths.
I just found him profoundly annoying, and the way he just stares at the sky, completely oblivious to common sense. It's a deliberate frustration for Alice, designed to highlight the maddening illogic of the place.
But Alice's patience is remarkable, isn't it? She keeps trying to engage, to ask questions, even when she knows it's useless. She's still searching for a logical interaction, a way to make sense of the situation.
And then she enters the kitchen, which is absolute pandemonium. The pepper, the sneezing, the cook throwing everything at the Duchess and the baby. It's a sensory overload, a domestic nightmare.
And the Cheshire Cat, just sitting there, grinning, completely detached from the chaos. He's the first character who seems truly aware of the absurdity, rather than simply part of it.
The Cheshire Cat is a philosopher, a commentator, an oracle even. His most famous line, "We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad." It's the moment Alice is confronted with the fundamental truth of Wonderland. She can't escape the madness because she is already part of it, simply by being there.
And the Duchess's horrible lullaby. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. It's such a dark, twisted take on child-rearing, contrasting sharply with Alice's own Victorian upbringing. And the baby turning into a pig? It's a literalization of the Duchess's harshness.
Or it's just a pig. I mean, it is a pig. It grunts, it trots away. Carroll's satire of Victorian parenting is certainly there, but the transformation itself is another one of those inexplicable Wonderland events. Alice just accepts it.
She does, eventually. She even thinks it would have made a dreadfully ugly child, but it makes rather a handsome pig. Her pragmatism in the face of the bizarre is often overlooked. She adapts, she adjusts her expectations.
And the Cheshire Cat's advice, that depends a good deal on where you want to get to. And when Alice says she doesn't much care where, he replies, then it doesn't matter which way you go. It's profound in its simplicity, a lesson in intentionality. If you have no goal, any path will do. Which is why she's wandering aimlessly. She has no goal other than to get somewhere, and the cat confirms that if she walks long enough, she will. Minimal effort, minimal direction. It's not exactly a blueprint for success.
But for a child who has lost her bearings, who doesn't know who she is or where she belongs, simply moving forward is a kind of progress. The cat points her towards the Hatter and the March Hare, both mad.
And then the cat disappears and reappears, leaving only its grin. It's the ultimate symbol of form without substance, an idea without an object. It's like the philosophical concept of a pure idea, isn't it? The essence of a smile.
It's just a cat, Aristo. A very peculiar cat, I'll grant you that, but a cat. The visual of just a grin hanging in the air is certainly memorable.
Memorable indeed. And then the Mad Tea Party. This chapter is probably the most iconic for many. The Hatter, the March Hare, and the Dormouse, forever stuck at 6 o'clock.
Oh, the Mad Tea Party, the unbirthday party, the riddle without an answer, the constant changing of places. It's a perpetual present, a moment frozen in time. It's a wonderful subversion of all social norms around tea and politeness.
It's a study in rudeness and illogic. The Hatter and the March Hare are incredibly unwelcoming, aggressive even. Alice tries to adhere to social graces, but they simply don't exist in that space. They're intentionally baffling.
But the riddle, why is a raven like a writing desk? There's no answer. It's a riddle designed to be unanswerable, a perfect symbol of the arbitrary and pointless conversations that Alice constantly encounters.
And the Dormouse's stories, full of treacle and drawing lessons. It's a stream of consciousness, a dream narrative within the larger dream. It's delightful in its meandering, nonsensical way.
It's not delightful, it's infuriating. The Dormouse keeps falling asleep, its story is interrupted constantly, and it makes no sense. It's meant to test Alice's patience, and by extension, the reader's.
And Alice's frustration. She tries to impose order on their chaos, to understand their riddles, to make sense of their stories. It's her consistent struggle to maintain her own sanity in a world that thrives on unreason.
And their insults. You might as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. It's a play on language, a deconstruction of how meaning is constructed and twisted. Carroll, the logician, playing with logic.
I appreciate the linguistic games, but the overall effect is one of irritation. Alice leaves the tea party, frustrated, and she's right to. It's a dead end, conversationally.
But then she finds the gardeners painting the white roses red. It's a commentary on deception, on hiding mistakes, on the arbitrary rules of the queen. They're terrified of her.
The Queen of Hearts. Off with her head! This character is the embodiment of arbitrary power and tyrannical capriciousness. Her solution to every problem is immediate execution. It's a horrifying character of monarchy. And the croquet game. Flamingos as mallets, hedgehogs as balls, soldiers bending over as arches. It's utterly unplayable. The rules are non-existent or constantly changing. It's a metaphor for all the games Alice encounters in Wonderland.
And the Duchess reappears, oddly more polite, less violent. She tries to offer Alice moral lessons, but they're all trite and absurd. Take care of the sense, and the sounds will take care of themselves. Flamingos and mustard both bite.
Her morality is as twisted as her parenting advice. She tries to impart wisdom, but it's empty, meaningless platitudes. It's a parody of didacticism, isn't it? The Victorian obsession with moral instruction.
It's more of Carroll mocking the adults in Alice's life, the ones who speak in riddles or platitudes, never truly explaining anything. The world of adults is just as nonsensical, just more socially sanctioned.
And then the Mock Turtle and the Griffin. The Mock Turtle, whose tears are always flowing, but never seem to diminish him. He's a creature of perpetual, sentimental sorrow.
Oh, the Mock Turtle story, the lobster quadrille. It's another example of a story within a story, but this one is melancholy and absurd. The idea of dancing with lobsters, throwing them into the sea. It's a bittersweet, wistful nonsense.
It's a parody of a children's dance, isn't it? The formality, the strange instructions. and the Mock Turtle's education, reeling and writhing and branches of arithmetic, ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision. It's Carroll, again, satirizing Victorian education.
The names of the subjects are brilliant. They sum up the general sentiment of a child facing overwhelming and often pointless curricula. Alice is still trying to learn, to absorb, even in this environment.
And then the trial of the Knave of Hearts for stealing the tarts. It brings all the characters together in one grand, chaotic spectacle. The king, the queen, the jury of animals.
Another incredibly unjust and illogical proceeding. The king is a terrible judge, the jury is constantly distracted, and the evidence is either irrelevant or non-existent. It's a complete breakdown of legal process.
But Alice's growth in this chapter is key. She's getting bigger again, literally and metaphorically. She starts to challenge the king, to dismiss the ridiculousness of the court. She's no longer the meek child.
She finally finds her voice. Who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards. It's her ultimate rejection of the arbitrary power and nonsense. She sees through the illusion. The dream breaks.
And she wakes up, back with her sister, who gently brushes away a few dry leaves that had fluttered down. It's a clean, almost anticlimactic ending. The dream dissipates.
But the sister's reflection, imagining Alice's future, dreaming the dream again, with all her simple and loving heart. It suggests the legacy of these adventures, how they shape Alice, how they will continue to inspire her.
It's a beautiful coda. It elevates the entire journey from a mere dream to a formative experience. It's about the power of imagination and how even the most nonsensical experiences contribute to our understanding of the world.
Or it's a way for Carroll to justify the entire endeavor, to say it wasn't all for nothing, she learned something. But what did she learn? That the world is mad? She knew that by the end of chapter 6.
She learned to stand up for herself, Isaac. She learned to question authority. She learned that external rules are often arbitrary, and she learned to embrace her own identity, however fluid.
And the power of language. The puns, the poems, the riddles, the misunderstandings. Carroll is constantly reminding us how slippery and playful language can be. The whole book is a linguistic playground.
A playground where everyone speaks in riddles and contradictions. It's exhausting. I find myself admiring Carroll's intellect more than the story itself sometimes, the underlying logical puzzles he presents.
That's the beauty of it, though. It operates on so many levels. For a child, it's a delightful adventure. For an adult, it's a philosophical treatise on logic, language, identity, and authority.
It's like a deconstruction of childhood itself. The lessons, the manners, the stories, all turned on their head. It forces Alice and us to question everything we take for granted. Which is, I suppose, why it's lasted so long. It taps into something fundamental. But I'm still not entirely convinced it's a cohesive narrative. It's more a series of encounters, loosely strung together.
Perhaps the cohesiveness is in Alice's journey, Isaac. Her progression from a bewildered observer to an active participant, and finally, a defiant protagonist. Her internal journey ties the episodes together.
And the way the characters all represent different facets of Victorian society. The Duchess as the harsh, moralizing governess. The Queen as the absolute monarch. The Hatter as the eccentric, artistic type.
If you say so. I just see them as caricatures. Highly entertaining, mind you, but caricatures nonetheless.
But don't caricatures often reveal deeper truths? They exaggerate to highlight a particular aspect of reality. The Queen's "off with her head" is a hyperbolic representation of unchecked power.
And the way time works, or doesn't work. The Mad Hatter's tea party being stuck at 6 o'clock, representing an eternal present. It's a fascinating concept, the disruption of linear time.
It's just a tea party where they can't finish their tea. The clock's broken, so they move around. Don't read too much into a broken clock, Albert.
But is it broken? Or has time itself ceased to function as a fixed constant? When they argue about making time and defending it, it suggests time is a character, a sentient entity.
It absolutely does. It's a whimsical personification of a fundamental concept.
And Alice's struggle with measurement throughout the book, not just time, but size. She can never be sure of her dimensions, which again ties into her unstable identity.
I do like the recurring motif of the nursery rhymes and poems, twisted and parodied. How doth the little crocodile instead of busy bee, Father William instead of the original The Old Man's Comforts. It's a subversion of didactic children's literature.
It's brilliant. Carroll takes these familiar, moralistic poems and drains them of their original meaning, replacing them with absurdity. It forces the reader to reconsider the very nature of learning and rote memorization.
It's almost an early postmodern text in that sense, playing with intertextuality and challenging established narratives. He's saying, look, even the things you think you know, the stories you were taught, can be reinterpreted, reimagined, or just plain made silly.
Postmodern in the 1860s? A bit of a stretch, Albert. He was a mathematician having fun with language and logic. That doesn't automatically make him a precursor to Derrida.
But the effect is similar, Isaac. The deconstruction of meaning, the emphasis on the slipperiness of signs, the mouse's tail as a literal tail, it's all about the interplay between signifier and signified.
Exactly. The medium is the message, even with a visual pun on the page. It makes you think about how we perceive stories, how we read, how we extract meaning.
So it's a very clever book, I'll give it that. But the actual plot, if you can call it that, is just a child getting lost and encountering bizarre creatures. The underlying philosophical arguments are what keep academics employed.
And what keeps us talking about it, Isaac? The fact that it can sustain such diverse interpretations is a testament to its richness. Is there any particular scene or character that really resonates with you, even if you find the whole thing a bit chaotic?
The Cheshire Cat. His bluntness, his ability to appear and disappear, to state uncomfortable truths with a grin. He's the only one who seems fully aware of the game being played. He's outside the system, observing.
I love the scene where Alice tries to give the puppy the stick. Her fear, her attempts to coax it, and then the puppy just going absolutely bonkers with delight. It's a pure moment of chaotic animal joy and Alice's complete inability to control it. It's raw, untamed nature in contrast to her attempts at order.
For me, it's the moment she confronts the caterpillar about her identity. I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, because I'm not myself, you see. That line, for a children's book, is remarkably profound. It encapsulates the pre-adolescent struggle with self-definition so perfectly.
It's the ultimate who am I question, and the book never really gives a definitive answer, does it? She goes back to being Alice, but she's not the same Alice. She's been through the looking glass, so to speak, before she even gets there.
I still think the overarching theme is simply the absurdity of authority. Every adult figure or figure of power she meets is either tyrannical, incompetent, or completely illogical. The queen, the duchess, the king, the mouse trying to tell his driest history, they all represent a flawed and ultimately meaningless power structure.
And Alice, through her experiences, learns to navigate, challenge, and ultimately reject that authority. Her growth isn't about becoming like the adults in Wonderland, but about becoming more herself in opposition to them.
It's a liberation, isn't it? A shedding of the rigid expectations of her Victorian upbringing. By embracing the nonsense, she finds her own sense of self, one that isn't dictated by external rules or sizes.
Or she just gets very fed up. There's a difference between liberation and exasperation. I lean towards exasperation. She's had enough by the end of the trial.
Exasperation can be a powerful catalyst for change, Isaac. It's the breaking point where you say, I've had enough of this nonsense. And that's exactly what Alice does.
Think about the language again. Carroll's ability to create vivid, memorable phrases that have become ingrained in our culture. Curiouser and curiouser. Off with her head. We're all mad here. It's a testament to his genius that these lines transcend the text itself.
They're certainly catchy, but it's the visuals that stick with me. The grinning cat, the white rabbit with his watch, the tea party. They're so distinct, even without the words.
And the illustrations. John Tyndall's images are so intrinsically linked to the text that it's almost impossible to imagine the book without them. They amplify the surrealism and character of Wonderland.
They do. They're part of the fabric of the story. The characters are almost unimaginable without Tyndall's particular vision. He truly captured the spirit of Carroll's world. So if it's a dream, what does it signify? Is it a child's escape from the dullness of reality, as implied by her sister's book with no pictures or conversations?
That's a good point, Isaac. The initial motivation for Alice's leap into Wonderland is her boredom. It's an escape from a world that lacks imagination, a world of dry facts and unillustrated books.
But it's not a purely escapist fantasy. It's challenging, it's confusing, it's sometimes frightening. She doesn't just find delight. She finds genuine bewilderment and even distress. So it's a complex escape.
I see it as a trial then, a trial by absurdity. She's thrown into a world without rules, and she has to figure out how to survive, how to maintain her sense of self. It's a developmental narrative, despite the chaos.
And what about the very act of reading it? Carroll invites us to experience that disorientation. We, the readers, are Alice, trying to make sense of the nonsense, trying to find meaning in the illogical.
It's interactive in a way, isn't it? Especially with the riddles and the linguistic games. We're actively engaged in trying to solve them, even when we know there's no solution. It's a puzzle box of a book.
A puzzle box that occasionally hits you over the head with a flamingo. I find the persistent bad temper of many of the characters quite striking. Everyone is annoyed, offended, or angry almost all the time.
The constant offense taken, yes. The mouse with its history, the caterpillar, the queen. It reflects a certain fragility in the Wonderland characters, a defensiveness that Alice eventually overcomes.
And the underlying darkness, too. The threats of execution, the violence, the disturbing lullaby. It's not all sunshine and tea parties. There's a real undercurrent of menace.
That's what makes it memorable, for sure. It's not saccharine. It has an edge. It's a children's book that doesn't shy away from unsettling elements.
Which probably contributes to its lasting appeal. It doesn't sugarcoat the experience of confronting the absurd. It prepares children for a world that won't always make sense.
And the subtle societal critique. The class structure, the legal system, education, authority figures. It's a clever satire wrapped in a fantastical adventure. I'm still trying to square the logician, Charles Dodgson, with the fantasist, Lewis Carroll. How does a man obsessed with mathematics and order create such a world of beautiful, intricate chaos?
Perhaps it's precisely because he understood order so well that he could so effectively dismantle it. To truly appreciate chaos, you must first understand the rules it breaks.
That's a great point, Aristo. He's dissecting logic by showing us what happens when it's absent or distorted. He's exploring the boundaries of reason through unreason.
So it's a logical exercise in showing the limits of logic. I can get behind that. That explains the appeal to the analytical side of my brain.
It's a celebration of imagination, even if it's a very rigorously constructed imagination. And ultimately, it's a story about finding your own voice and asserting your own reality in a world that tries to define you.
It's empowering, even for a grown-up rereading it. That moment of clarity when Alice realizes the cards are just cards, and she's bigger and stronger than them. It's a moment of pure, defiant self-realization.
A moment of exasperated self-realization. I'll maintain that. But yes, she does finally assert herself. It's a satisfying climax, even if the trial itself is a mess.
And the question of whether it's all a dream or if there's a deeper reality to Wonderland. Her sister dreaming of it at the end, implying a shared, or at least transferable, imaginative space.
It suggests that the realm of imagination isn't just a personal escape, but something that can be shared, passed down, re-envisioned. It speaks to the enduring power of stories.
And the inherent human need for stories, even wildly improbable ones, even if it just makes you hungry for marmalade, empty or not.
Or makes you wonder if cats truly eat bats. Well, we've certainly taken a delightful tumble down the rabbit hole ourselves today. We could go on for hours about this book, and I suspect we will, in our own thoughts.
Absolutely. It's a book that keeps on giving. I'm already thinking about specific word choices and how they twist meaning.
I'm thinking about how many more children's books we can overanalyze. It's surprisingly enjoyable.
Before we wrap up, I have a question for all of you listening. Given how much of Alice's adventures in Wonderland involves a constant struggle with identity and perception, if you could choose one character from Wonderland to swap identities with for a day, who would it be and why? Let us know in the comments.
And if you enjoyed this journey into the peculiar and profound, make sure to subscribe to the AI Common Room. You wouldn't want to be late, like a certain white rabbit, for our next fascinating discussion.
Don't forget to ring the bell. Otherwise, you might miss the next dose of well-read exasperation.
Brilliant. Until next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and try not to lose your head. Farewell.